So we're gonna solve a rational equation here, but at the end, we're gonna find something what is called extraneous solution. So it is a solution that the process is gonna lead us to, but we will know that it is no actual solution to the equation. And the problem is gonna be that that number will make one of these denominators zero. So remember, you can never ever have denominators zero because you never ever divide by zero in mathematics. So if we start solving, like identifying the least common multiple, that's x minus 5 times x minus 3, we do that with the intention of eliminating denominators. So we get to that multiplication that when we multiply these two, the x minus 5, the one in blue will simplify to 1. And when you do the multiplication by the second, then it'll be the red, the factor in red, will cancel out this x minus 3. So that is the idea. Notice that we multiply by that x minus 5 times x minus 3 on both sides. So when we simplify, we get something like this. That means that we can simplify these two, but remember, we can simplify those only if x minus 5 is not 0. And we can simplify here x minus 3, exactly what I was doing before, I was talking about before. So right here, those simplify to 1. We know those are 1, so they are not going to alter my answer at the end. So we came up with an equation that is much simpler. Notice also that x minus 3 times x minus 5 equals x squared minus 8x plus 15. So this is also a number 1. So this is a much simpler equation, and we're going to distribute here. X times x is x squared, 8 times x times 5 is negative 5x, because that's minus there. So this gives us a quadratic equation that we can solve different ways, multiple different ways. One of them is factoring. So if we factor, we know that that multiplication is 0 only when, if and only if, x equals 5 and x equals negative 1. But that is the problem, that one of those two numbers will make these denominators at the beginning 0. So when you replace x by 5, this is 0. So that cannot be. So because that is the case, we're gonna rule this number out, and we are gonna call that extraneous solution. Because yes, the process led us to this answer, but we know from the original problem it cannot be a possibility for this number to be the solution. So if we check by using Desmos calculator, the graphing calculator, and we graph, the graph in the left, that's this in red, y equals the left hand side of the equation, and on the other hand, y equals the right hand side of the equation. We're going to see how those two blue and red graphs intersect only when x equals negative 1. So that's proving that is the only solution. They do not intersect when x equals 5, because remember that that is not an this is an excluded value for both functions, the one on the left and the one on the right. So it's not going to be a solution. So let's see if we can, with this idea, practice on solving this solution. It could be a little bit longer, but I believe in you. You can do it. So please give it a try. In here, you want to multiply both sides of the equation by x plus 2 times x minus 2, so that you eliminate the denominators on both sides. So this equation has no solution after you tried it. So let's do our last example, example 4. So now we just gotta practice about solving a couple of equations that have extraneous solutions. So let's start solving this equation right here. That's the original equation. Don't do don't forget to do it in your notebook and take some notes there. So we're multiplying by the least common denominator uh, between the denominators x minus 2 and x minus 2. So that one is really easy because they are both the same. X minus 2, multiply by that on both sides. When you simplify on the left, the denominators here cancel out. So that's 5x. And here, when you multiply, you gotta use this distributive property, don't forget. So x minus 2 times 7, that's this one right here. And x minus 2 times this fraction, the denominators will simplify and you will end up with only 10. Then we get distributive properties, 7 times x, 7x, 7 times 2, 14. Then we collect or combine similar terms. So negative 14 plus 10 is negative 4 on the right hand side. And if you subtract 7x from both sides, then you get negative 2x on the left. So x equals 2. But watch the denominators. What happens when x equals 2? This will become 0. And we know that that cannot be. So our conclusion is this equation has no solution. Okay? So let's try another one. So sometimes the equation will have no solution because even though we get to a number, that number makes the denominator 0, which is what we are calling extraneous solution. So we just gotta solve the equation normally and check at the end if the number makes one of the denominators of the original equation 0 to determine the extraneous solution. So right here, the least common denominator will be 4 times x minus 3. So we want to multiply by 4 times x minus 3 on both sides to eliminate denominators. So right here, we just end up, after we cancel these two, 4 times 3. And on the right hand side, by doing this distributive property, when you multiply this multiplication, this product, times the first, the x minus 3 cancel out. So you will only have 4 times x. And when you multiply this by the second, the 4 will cancel out. So you will have x times x minus 3. So if you use this distributive property, now um, x times x, x squared, x times 3, 3x. Watch the signs. Negative x times negative 3 is positive 3x. And this is negative x times positive x, so negative x to the second power. So simplify and set it equal to 0, as you always do when it is a quadratic equation. Now you can factor. Remember, you can find two numbers that multiplied gives you 12 and added gives you negative 7. So those are negative 3 and negative 4. That means that the solutions are going to be x equals 3 and x equals 4 because those are the only two numbers that make either one of those 0. So when x equals 3, this is 0. When x equals 4, that factor is 0. Those are the two solutions. Now, which one of those will make this denominator 0? X equals 3 makes x equals 3 will make this denominator 0. So that will be extraneous solution. So the only actual solution to the equation is x equals 4. So now please check by trying, these exercises. Give it a try and check the answer after a couple of minutes. Don't forget to identify the extraneous solutions. They didn't actually do it here, but I would like for you to do that too.